let's talk about the Superman legacy, the clip that was shown that turned into kind of a trailer at the beginning of, before a Minecraft movie, here on Post Credits Podcast, episode 24, available on podcast services where you choose to listen. Boys, what are we thinking about this Superman? I have thoughts. I have thoughts, and they are, of course, in relation to this is the James Gunn starting the new DC era. He's starting it with Superman, which was started many years ago, again by Nolan and Zack Snyder with Man of Steel. Which my comparison, I don't know anything about any superhero I haven't seen in a film. So my comparison to this one and the Man of Steel one, that's all I have to go on. So I want to ask you, which were you happy with the cut that we got before, or not?
What do you mean? Hold on. Do you mean before what we watched?
So
now?
before a Minecraft movie, the
long.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I couldn't. I just wanted
yeah.
to know we're on the same page here. Go ahead,
So, okay. The trailer before to me was just a trailer. So, okay, I'm not a Superman fan. Superman is in my bottom. Is I don't like Superman.
Hold up. Fun fact: not a lot of people are Superman fans.
Okay, I used to work with someone who was a huge Superman fan. One of my old bosses.
Is he a fucking giant dork?
Yeah, he was, but still,
always.
Also,
these are stereotype.
Also, fantastic mentor in this guy. But his first question to me
does he listen to this show?
I hope so, but he doesn't.
Damn it.
The
answer is yes.
The first conversation we had was the first things he said to me working at GameStop. He looked at me in the eyes and said, "Who do you like more, Superman or Captain America?" And I said, "Captain America." He's like, "Okay, that's a decent answer. Why?" I said, "Because Superman is the dumbest superhero that's ever been made." And I think he actually choked on his own spit, gasping so hard. I don't like the hero in general, so I don't know. My knowledge base on him is lower than what people would probably like if I'm going to criticize that movie when it comes out. However, this version of Superman is not like my favorite version of Superman. I like what we had with Nolan. So looking at this trailer, it's a lot of things I've already seen in the trailer we got, not in this sneak peek that we're going to talk about here in a second. But like the trailer itself, it has Superman doing Superman things, right? Like he's faster than a speeding bullet. He's saving kids. He's kissing the girl. He's putting glasses on and nobody knows who he is. Like there's
hairs tussled.
Yeah, all the Superman stuff is happening in the Superman trailer. And I'm not really sold on anything yet because I haven't seen anything yet. I'm actually most intrigued by Lex Luthor so far.
Holt. Nicholas Holt.
Yeah. And that's because it's Nicholas Holt is one of the reasons why.
Yeah, because he's awesome in everything he's in.
Because he's fantastic, and because I think Lex Luthor is a more interesting character than Superman is an interesting character by virtue of what Superman stands for. So like it's usually when you have a good Lex Luthor, you have a great Superman because those two personalities play off each other so importantly in Superman's story that's what really I think drives like that experience of, is this going to be an interesting film or an interesting movie? And we didn't really get that out of the Nolan ones compared to, like what we're already seeing in the trailer with Holt and stuff. Luthor seems very active in the film, whereas that wasn't the case in what Nolan and Snyder had going on. I said Nolan more than I did Snyder, but so like the original trailer, kind of lukewarm on it, but Superman's been done a lot. So I feel the same way about a Batman trailer. I felt the same way about the last Batman trailer we got to see. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of these in my short, 30 some years of life. There's been a lot of Superman and a lot of Batman. So I need to see the film. It's got to prove itself to me.
What about you, Roger? What are your first thoughts?
Well, I mean, so watching this, it's just longer. It's a longer cut of something we'd already seen him like crashing down into the Arctic, where there's outside his Fortress of Solitude, which I don't understand why he wouldn't have aimed closer to home.
He seemed in rough shape, dog.
He did seem in rough shape.
It's true. Like he's not doing so hot.
Maybe that's the best he could.
But I mean, like, look, it's nice to see because it actually expands on some stuff that I had a couple people talk to me about the first Superman trailer.
Yeah.
About trying to figure out who he was talking to with the robot at the end, where like he's got his hand around him and he's like talking to him. It's nice to see like you see a little bit more of like what those robots are. Obviously, they're hospital or servant robots or however you want to classify them. But it's nice they talk to him, like they help him out, fix him up, but like instead of performing a medical procedure on him, they
Yeah.
they magnify the sun coming
Yep.
at him, which is interesting.
Seems unpleasant for him.
I mean, so like I assume like you feel your bones break, you would
you
feel them reset,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and it probably sucks, right?
Yeah.
But like I think it's interesting. Like, look, it looks good. It
Mhm.
looks, him flying doesn't look cartoonish.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it did in the Snyder run with the Henry Cavill Superman either. Like they had done a good job of
Yeah.
making that more believable. Still not completely sold on the whole boy shorts thing that he's got going on over his tidy, his
leotard.
his unitard, whatever it is. But like, look, the kid looks like he could be Superman, and that's fine. I won't judge anything negative about this until I actually see the movie itself. But like, it's intriguing, and like doing Superman's a big deal because people love him for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And the one thing I will tell you about Superman, because I know Chris said he doesn't know much about him, for a guy who is fucking indestructible, really gets his ass beat a lot. So like that's something that happens to him.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like,
that's the
look,
thing.
instead of just throwing people into the sun, which you can do, he's has a conscience.
He's got
and
justice and morals
whatever.
and stuff,
and like lets the law figure things out. No.
What about you, Grayson?
See, to me, so I kind of double down on what you said, Chris. Superman to me has always been a very boring, because not only is he indestructible, but he's always a white hat hero in which he only does good, never any bad to do any good. At least that's kind of how I see him. He's like, because when he came about, it was like, I understand the era he was being created in and like why why he became so big, but
we needed a white savior.
Yeah,
that's not a joke.
Thank you for that, Roger. Appreciate that.
Hey, just want to let you know about the beginning of Superman, buddy.
The thing when I go into the Nolan thing is like, this one seems to be going into the comic booky version of Superman, which is kind of like the first film with Reeves, and going all the way back to that is like, I get why you might want to think about that, James Gunn. My criticism, well, sorry, not even criticism because I haven't seen the movie, or do I know anything as Superman outside of what I've seen on the big screen, is I think there's a danger of that. I think one of the few things that Man of Steel really did right was it grounded it and it made it watchable for adults. I think what you're going to have a big disconnect with is if this is super cartoony or comic booky, which it looks like it might be leaning into, you might lose some of that audience. It's like, am I watching an adult movie? What am I watching here? What is this crap? Like, that's kind of what I feel is one of the dangers here, that you didn't have in a Nolan Zack Snyder universe. Both those directors love the nitty gritty, down to earth type stuff. So
what do you mean by comic booky?
Well, can I actually,
Okay.
I think I can answer that if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it being comic booky, and here's why.
Mhm.
Because I'll expound on that.
Yeah.
So this is the third reboot of Superman, or fourth version of Superman, but the one in the middle is not really a reboot. They kind of pick it up with a different actor, but we'll call, for all intents and purposes, we'll call it the fourth version of Superman, right? Like, I don't need a Superman origin story anymore.
Yeah.
Right. This is something that happened when we talked about when Tom Holland became Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about Batman too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to see Batman's parents die. We don't need to see Uncle Ben die.
Yep.
I don't need to see I don't need to see Krypton explode anymore. I don't. Like, look, I'm going to a Superman movie as a man in my 40s. Like, I am the demographic for this movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you are making this movie for me and my children.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to start at the very beginning. We don't have to start at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, you can do the 5-minute, 10-minute, like, I'm Superman.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. Flash through all that shit, and we can start on day 955 of being Superman.
Yeah, like have him get like punched in the face by someone,
sure,
and then it pauses and goes, I bet you're wondering how I got here.
How I got here, yeah. Like, like, look, and here's the thing. All jokes aside, that's okay to do. Like, we don't need to see all that stuff. Because, like, look, they definitely do that with Spider-Man. Like, I got bit by a spider. I did this. My uncle died. Blah, blah, blah. This happened. I live with my aunt. Blah, blah, blah. Like, we've seen that be successful. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you need to copy it, but we don't need the full hard reboot. And when you say more comic booky to me, like, this feels like it might be, because it's not grounded in realism. Like, they tried to do a little bit with Man of Steel. And while I respect Man of Steel, and I thought it was a good movie, a good baseline for Superman, like clearly that's not a direction that they want to use. They don't use the same actor, and that's fine. But in this world, we see that other heroes exist, which is also fine. I don't need to be like, I'm the only one, and then, oh, well, I'm not. There's 500 other versions of us. I like that there are other people there. I like that there are big giant monsters, and people don't seem to be super freaked out about it. You know, like some portal from hell didn't open up.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something just one day we're like, wow, we have an alien savior man here. Oh, there's also a portal to hell on the other side where big giant monsters climb out of. Are they related? I don't know. But it's nice to see, like, you can build a universe, because like they are building James Gunn's universe is taking bits and pieces of stuff that already exists. He's already said so. Some of Suicide Squad stuff, the Blue Beetle thing is staying, and a couple other stuff. Like, we don't need a full reboot, and I'm glad we're not getting that. Now, back to where we started this conversation about what I thought about this sneak peek. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it looks cool. Like, there is nothing in this that discourages me from wanting to see that movie. Now, look, well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it draws more attention for somebody like myself, but I was going to go see it anyway.
Yeah.
Because, like, clearly you've decided to put a 4 minutes, 55 seconds. So let's call it a 5-minute trailer on something, which is unheard of. But we put a 5-minute trailer in front of the most successful movie so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you intentionally marketed to those kids to get them to come see your movie. Well, it's a genius idea, but, like, it didn't do much for me personally. But, like, I totally get why Warner's doing it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So let's talk about where it showed up for a second, right? Like, is this only going to be on the Minecraft movie?
I mean, it's on YouTube, so I don't.
Will this make it to other movies?
Okay, I think because it debuted on the Minecraft because they knew it was going to be. I think also I wanted to bring up the fact that like you're debuting it on a movie that's shooting the target demographic is 8 to 14-year-old kids.
Yeah, you want the kids.
Like, I think you need what thing DC needs to do is somehow bring the kids back, because I think something that the other ones lost was the young demographic.
Well, kids love Batman more than Superman. It's
sure, and I guess
because Batman's a cooler character.
I have a couple more questions for you guys.
I want to finish my thought real quick. So, like, I think they did a really good job if they knew this was going to debut on the Minecraft trailer when they went to make this, to have Crypto come and beat the shit out of Superman for a minute,
jumping on
because
a dumb
the
dog
kids in my
sometimes.
theater laughed their asses off at this dog just like tackling him and
also
jumping
imagine
on him
having
and
like
stuff.
10 busted ribs and your stupid super dog is
You know what though? That's exactly how that would work though for a lot of people. You know
hey
what
buddy,
I mean?
good to see you. Please stop.
You know, I need help, and then your dog's just licking your face like, I don't need this.
Big sloppy moron.
I
I love you too, buddy. Please take me to the hospital.
Did you also love Nathan Fillion's like? Looks like he's a choir boy from like 1312 haircut.
Listen, the haircut is a choice, but it's a specific choice. So like,
I imagine it's based on stuff from the comics. So
it is.
But so I have one more question. Did you know? So on IMDb, he's not even whoever's playing Superman isn't. I'm like 15 people in, and he's still not listed. Just FYI, as Clark Kent. Maybe they're trying to.
That may be an artifact from when they were trying to keep the casting of Superman under wraps still.
So I have a question for you. So if you have this Superman being very comic booky, when they eventually get to whatever unified universe they're trying to do, akin to the Avengers, which is the Justice League, will it play well? Are you going to be able to put them in mortal danger with the guy that's like, I'm comic booky, I'm not grounded in any way?
Sure, I think so. I listen. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, because like, look, if you think of the stuff we have seen that we know is staying, let's take Blue Beetle, because that's one thing that they said 100% is staying. The Zolo, what's it, Marudez or whatever, I forget his full last name. Sorry, the kid from Cobra Kai.
Yes.
As Blue Beetle, like, look, there's a lot of comic booky stuff in that movie, and it plays. Like, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I think in that universe, like, him and Superman could coexist. Sure, why not?
I know we've talked a lot about like comic booky stuff in this discussion. I promise you, the millions and millions of comic book fans don't mind that it's comic booky.
Nope.
Like, that's exactly what they want. So
those
are going to be the silent money, but the loudest critics. So those are the people that are going to complain the loudest from the audience when this movie doesn't line up to their standards. And whether you like it or not, whether they like it or not, whether anybody likes it or not, they're the ones that they're the whole reason why these things had legs to begin with, to then become movies. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
like, you say comic booky like it's a 4-letter word. I say comic booky like it depends on who you're trying to appease.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Some
And,
people look at it one way, some people look at it the other.
yeah, and it's fine either direction. I think that this movie has to come out and not set itself apart from the Nolan verse, from Snyder's version of like what Superman was going to be. It needs to just come out and be a good Superman story. It needs to have good visuals, cool visuals. It needs to have the correct stakes that Superman is subject to. Because when you have Superman in a movie, he is the focus. Because when there is the Justice League, their number one concern is always Superman for a reason, because he is the alpha in that grouping. He
Biggest
is the
threat.
he is. So things are handled a certain way when you have Superman involved. Same goes for his
Sure.
movies.
Sure,
So-
and I totally understand that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just hoping that that's what we get. And
Well, you see, the thing that
yeah.
they need is instead of it being a good DC movie, they just need a good
movie.
superhero movie.
Yep, exactly.
they,
That's all they need.
I
is
even
one
say
good
it doesn't
movie.
have to be a good superhero movie. It could just be a good movie with Superman
Yeah.
in it. We talked about like in like the conversation like Marvel.
Mhm.
Some of our favorite Marvel movies are good genre movies that are
have their
also
superheroes to it.
superheroes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like
100%.
that's some of our favorite ones, right? So it's like this can be that. It depends on what James Gunn has in mind, obviously, but like we'll have to see. We'll get 2 more trailers before this thing comes out, right? You know what I mean?
God, I hope not.
I hope not, but it's gonna
No,
happen.
but we will. I mean, 100%.
Because
Yeah.
WB
I-
is going to be super worried about this not making money.
I don't know about 2. 1,
One
yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
for sure.
the obligatory
my
trailer
reasons.
2.
I'd be the guy in the room who's like, that looks really cartoonish. Maybe we need to, but like I'd be that guy in the boardroom. But then
Yeah.
being like I'm me,
And then-
like I get.
And then the comic book consultant guy's going to be like, "Hey, buddy, shut up."
No,
So,
and I
like,
get that.
yeah.
And I totally understand that. However, like thinking back to all the best all the best
Mhm.
moments in all the Marvel films that we've talked about at length recently is like
Mhm.
none of those are all human connection with stakes involved by people who are about to lose someone. So like that's heavy material.
Yeah, but those are movie moments,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Like,
sure.
That's the thing that like the comic book and novel media can't do quite as well as the
Sure.
movie media, right? Like on-screen media.
Absolutely.
So,
But
like,
go ahead. So the one thing I want to say is like my last thing of like I enjoyed the clip. I enjoyed we got to see a little bit of Superman being kind of brought back from death by Krypto, and then his robots in the Fortress of Solitude. Then we got to see a lot of quick cuts, and I am excited for it because even though I'm not like crazy with the visual style and how they're doing it, like James Gunn has never given me a reason not to be excited for whatever he's got coming.
Mhm.
He does
So,
a good job.
He does
He's
so far.
earned
Hey,
he's
listen,
earned that as of right now. He has that.
he's a smart director too. He
Mhm.
studies his source material. And I mean, like, look, if you ever think James Gunn can't make a superhero movie, he made a D-list combination of superheroes
Mhm.
in the Guardians of the Galaxy to one of the most successful movie franchises of all
It's true.
time.
Yeah.
I want you to understand how seriously a big deal that is. Like, no one fucking knew who Peter Quill was. Nobody.
Yeah.
Even comic book nerds.
And now that character's iconic and
Yep.
so much different stuff.
Fucking
The
Chris
last thing-
Pratt. Chris Pratt.
Your buddy.
Chris Pratt, he brings it to life. Without him, there would be no Star-Lord. The last thing I want to say is I think that the smartest thing that James Gunn and Warner Brothers could do is not put out another trailer. They need like a 1 minute 20-second stinger that is Lex Luthor and some piece of villain monologue dialogue that he's doing, voiceover, and like just a couple of like just scenes of him doing villainous stuff, and then that's it. Give people an idea of what that dichotomy is going to be, and don't give away anything. Have a good time with this movie being a spectacle instead of being what's expected. I think that's what they need to do.
So
agree.
last thing I'll say is at some point in this trailer or sneak peek, which is something we have seen before,
Yeah.
is Lex has a old school looking revolver.
Mhm.
Man, if he's got a kryptonite bullet in that thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you, that would be rad.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
That is.
Kryptonite bullets are a big deal.
We will see. I hope they don't ruin it by showing 15 different trailers, all
Yeah.
3 minutes long of different footage. Because, like Chris said, I think that'll ruin the experience for a lot of people. But
Sure.
Okay, that was a big one. That was a big one. So
Yeah.
moving right along.